Well, not waiting till Focused Friday, I decided to do a Wishy-Washy Wednesday. Well, I actually did this yesterday, so a Tuesday with some sort of alliterative title. I took 4 pens that I selected the day before. These are all cedar blue Parker 51s with various caps, all aerometric, and no two blues are alike. I don't know whether you can tell on this camera. That doesn't help. Adding photons in my house. My house is like a black hole. It just sucks light right out of the system. Anyway, I found 4 cedar blue 51s from my collection. I filled them with ink, and I thought I'll use them to draw with. I don't normally draw with a 51 because of their lack of variety of line that they provide. But I went out and I drew the construction site across the street from my front door. And my neighbors complain about the noise. I go out and draw them. I find it much more interesting than whatever they're building is going to ever be. I think it's really quite beautiful to see. And so I picked these 4 pens filled with ink. The Signet Cap is this one. And I had fun with it. Why not? Now, the weather outside yesterday was chilly-ish, and I was not dressed for the cold, so I did not spend as much time drawing it as I could have. But anyway, this is this big old lumbering crane lumbering away. With any 51, almost any 51, you have the right side up and upside down way of drawing or writing, and usually the right side up is fatter than the upside down version. The line it makes is thicker. So I sort of had this interesting 2 Johnny One Note pens in one, and it was quite interesting to do a drawing with these again. Normally I use a pen that has a flexible nib. So this was the Signet. The Sterling, this one, I filled them all with the same color ink, and then the ink that was dissolved, from whatever was in the pen 10 years ago or 20 years ago, whenever the last time I filled these was. It's sort of, unless you take the pen completely apart and boil it in water or whatever you do, there's always going to be some ink in there in that collector. And so the ink that was in it must have been sort of a turquoisey blue, because the dark blue I added had a greenish, bluish green tint. This one has a very thick right side up stroke, and you flip it over and it had a relatively, I think this one had, well, maybe not the greatest difference between the two halves, but it was kind of neat to have that obvious play. That first one that I showed you, they all have them, I guess. One of these, I was getting a very sluggish ink flow, and I realized I needed to do a little bit of tidying up of the pen's breather tube, which seemed to do the trick, though I also changed the shell on it, which I think did more of the trick. Sterling. So what was luster like? Yeah. Now that I've filled these pens, I'm going to sort of play with them for a while. And play with them all together because they are so similar. Yeah, I know the cap is different. Whatever. Other than that, they're relatively similar. And it's just interesting to see what one can do with where that takes you. If you have only these 4 pens in your pocket, how is that going to change your day as an artist? Are you going to say, damn, I wish I had my flexible nibbed Waterman pen, because look at that thunderstorm coming over the horizon? Or are you going to try to draw that thunderstorm with this pen? Or are you going to turn your head away from the thunderstorm and draw something that this pen wants to draw? That's something that I am trying to sort of figure out by my pen brethren, is how much does the pen you use determine what you write? What word comes out of this pen? If I had a Waterman flexible nibbed pen, I would be writing a bunch of adverbs and a lot of gerunds. Why, do you ask? Because the ly of many and most, many adverbs have ly as a ending. And I love making lys with a fountain pen. Not this one. This one makes a boring ly. Really? Yes, really. A flexible nibbed pen, what do? I'll show you what they do if I can find one here that I can easily put my little fingers on. My desk is always forever changing. What is this? Well, it's flexible to a degree. It's that part that's really fun to write with a flexible nib. With this nib, not so much. So, do you, as you're writing your poem or your dissertation or your check to the person you write the check to, the grocery store, do you walk around the store to select things so it totals something where you are able to use the... Do you buy things that are $8 or $18 or $888 because you like the way your pen makes the letter E? You could also do $11, I guess. I mean, if you do, you're my kind of person. What kind of person is that? Wacky. You know, you're not boring. Put it that way. This one, what was this one? This was the first one I did gold fill without signet band. And this one, it was the very first drawing I did when I was out there drawing, and it was cold, and I hadn't quite got, my fingers did not get numb. And I really liked, I think I spent more time drawing with the really fine end upside down version of this pen. And I'm not quite sure why that started, but it did. And then when I wanted to punctuate it with a darker line, I'd flip it over. rather than the other way around, where I start with dark and then flip over to make light. I did it. This pen sort of wanted me to go on the quiet zone. Again, do I have so tiny a backbone that I can't even tell my pen what to do? Am I so wishy-washy that I believe anything and will go with it for a few minutes before something else shiny and sparkly hits me? Yes. The answer to that question is yes. But what I'm doing, I'm trying to do this for most of you people who take pictures of your pens and you line your pens up and you click a picture and you say, aren't my pens pretty? Yeah, they're fine. They're pretty. If you, and I covet them, I covet every single one of them. If you want to make me really jealous of your pen collection, open them up and show the nibs, and better yet, take a picture of what the nib can do. That, if you did that, I would say just how beautiful your pens are, and I know that that's what we all live for. 8. That's what we live for when we show and tell. Oh my God, you have the most beautiful pens. Oh gosh, shucks. Do I? My pens are not beautiful, but they all have really, they have really nice nibs. And your pens do too. So show them to us. Don't just take a picture of the nib. Write a word with it. Even if it's just F you, Pierre Gustafson, and your high horse. Do I have I don't mean to have a high horse. There's so much about these things that I think a lot of pen collectors are missing. Bye.